Hello everybody, Shabbat Shalom, and so this video is going to be about basically where we put our focus on. Are we focused on a task until it's complete, even if it is frustrating and we don't know what to do next, or can we take breaks and look at something else? So I'm going to wait for a few minutes to get some people in the chat room, and then I'll get into John 3, where he discusses the Spirit. And if you could see the cover title of this image, there is one of those, now I forgot the name of it, the little like rooster type thing on the top of the, the wind thing. I forget the name of it. Anyway, there's a horse on this one, and it's pointed in a direction, and then the wind comes and it'll blow in a different direction. So, weatherman, is that what it is? Anyway, so the wind is blowing that around, and then it changes direction whenever the wind decides to go. And so that is the way we are supposed to be when we're listening to the Holy Spirit. And in John 3, he discusses this. So you guys can chat in the chat room. You can ask questions or comments or anything like that. And I'm going to read John 3 here about Jesus and Nicodemus. Okay. There was a man of the Pharisees named Nicodemus, a ruler of the Jews. The same came to Jesus by night and said unto him, Rabbi, we know that thou art a teacher come from God. For no man can do these miracles that thou doest except God be with him. Jesus answered and said unto him, Verily, verily, I say unto you, except a man be born again, he cannot see the kingdom of God. Nicodemus said unto him, How can a man be born when he is old? Can he enter the second time into the mother's womb and be born? Jesus answered, Verily, verily, I say unto thee, except a man be born of water and of the Spirit, he cannot enter into the kingdom of God. That which is born of the flesh is flesh, that which is born of the Spirit is spirit. Marvel not that I said unto thee, Ye must be born again. The wind bloweth where it listeth, or where it pleases, or where it intends to go. And you hearest the sound thereof, but canst not tell whence it cometh, and whither it goeth. So is everyone that is born of the Spirit. Someone who is born of the Spirit is going to come and go and look at different topics, things. They're going to be excited in different projects, and you're not going to know why if you're not born of the Spirit. You're not going to understand this, basically. So we are supposed to be led by the Spirit and go on to different things, just depending on where the Spirit blows at that moment in time. And I wanted to look at, well, first, if you haven't seen my article, Believers in Christ have descended from heaven. This is in the description box below. And so this is the whole idea, is that once we are in Christ, we are born from above, just like he was when we're born of the Spirit. And so also I want to look at some of the words that are used in John 3. So this one is the word that I was talking about, the intend or design or am willing or desires. The wind or the Spirit just goes where it's intended to go, and it just goes where it's designed to go, where it wishes to go. And we are supposed to just listen to it and trust that that Spirit is leading us to the best option, the best result that we're going to go to. It's funny here, to desire, wish, will, wanting what is best, optimal, because someone is ready and willing to act. So that is the whole idea, that we are supposed to be listening to the Spirit because it knows what's best, and we're supposed to be going what the Spirit is saying, what it is leading us to do. And 54 or 56, phone, probably where we get the word phone from. This is the Greek word, and it is a voice or a sound, noise, voice, language, dialect. And so in John 3, this is the word for where you're hearing the sound thereof. So the sound of the wind or the sound of the Spirit is where we're going here with the connotation. And I found this interesting. There was something down here further. Okay, so it talks about it being like a tone, articulate, bestial or artificial by implication, an address for any purpose, saying or language, noise, sound, voice. And I just thought that was interesting because it sort of goes with the whole vibration idea, because we, when we're spiritual, are sort of having this vibration that people talk about in the new age, and they talk about raising your frequency and all that, and your vibe, that's your vibration. Your vibe attracts your tribe. So if you're vibrating in a very positive level, you're going to attract more positive people. And if you're vibrating at a negative level, you're actually going to repel positive people and attract negative people or situations, etc. So it's interesting here that we're supposed to be listening to the sound, which could be a vibration in the spirit. And that's just sort of the connotation, the sort of allegory maybe of what he's saying here with the whole wind. You listen to the wind, you know where it's going, but we're supposed to be listening to the vibration or tone and changing our direction based on that vibration. So I thought that was very interesting. So also, I just want to talk about how this works in the law of attraction. So how does this work from a Christian perspective? And I know I've discussed it before for some people who've already heard it, but I want to explain it sort of with this in mind. Basically, every time we see something we don't like or do something we don't like or have something done to us that we don't like, immediately the spirit is praying for us for the opposite. If somebody rams into your car, you'd like a world where you don't get rammed into, your vehicle, or you're more prepared so that you will see somebody coming and you move out of the way. Whatever the deal is, you're asking for that better world or better life where you are not going to get hit. And so every single time a situation comes up that you don't like something, your spirit has already prayed for you. There's a verse in the Bible, and I'm not sure which one it is right now off the top of my head, but it says that the spirit is praying for you with utterances that you can't even understand. It knows, the spirit knows what's going on in your mind, in your own spirit. And it's already praying for you for the opposite. As soon as you don't like something, it's praying for the opposite. And Jesus says as soon as you're praying for it, then it's done. It's a done deal. And whatever you ask the Father for, if it's something good and positive, which of course it would be, then that's already done, as long as you're praying in His name. The issue that we have in general is that we often resist the answer to the prayer. So we'll often say like, oh, I wish I had enough money where I didn't have to slave at my job. But then you don't think that you can make enough money doing something that you like, or just don't think you can make enough money so that you don't have to slave at a job. Then you're resisting the answer to the prayer that you already sent out. You've already prayed for a world in which you don't have to slave at your job and have everything given to you. Well, Jesus said that you're not supposed to worry about where you're going to get your food and where your home is going to come from. If you stop worrying about that stuff and focus on the kingdom of heaven, which is inside of you, and cleansing yourself first, then all those things will be provided for you. So you're not supposed to be worrying about that stuff. But we do. We're humans. We have worries, we have fears, we have things that sort of bug us, and we sometimes fixate on those things. And if you continually think every single day, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough money, you are putting forth the vibration that you don't have enough money, and you're resisting the money that's coming to you. And so that's just one example. I mean, there's so many different examples, and it works for everything. And the only reason I talk about it is because I've seen it happen in my life. And so, like, for example, this thing is very small, but a couple of days ago, I wanted a new phone charger for my phone because it was really broken. I had to wriggle in the cord for it to charge, and then it would do the charge by itself. So then anyway, it's annoying. But I don't want to focus on the annoying part because it's already been answered. Okay, so I was looking on Amazon for a good phone charger to replace the other one, and I put one in my wish list on Amazon, and then I just let it be. So it's kind of the whole same idea. You see something you don't like, you want something fixed, you put it in your wish list of heavenly requests, right? God answers it, and then the next day, I found a website that let me get this one, and it's a retractable one. It's even better. It's small, and then you can take it out, and then it retracts back in. And I got a rebate on it. So actually it was a coupon code thing. So then I got it half price, or maybe it was 60%. But I've been getting a lot of those recently. And so I thought, wow, that's amazing. I was going to spend $11 on this thing. That's why I put it in my wish list. But next day I had it for, like half price. So, I've got Amazon Prime because of the product testing company that I've been doing stuff for. So I had free shipping on that. It was very quick and easy to buy. So that was really nice. But that's the same way that it works. Sometimes we have to, depending on how much resistance we have. Now, if I'd had very little resistance of getting a free charger, then I would have gotten a free charger. I just wanted it to be a little less money. And I got one that's a little less money. So if we had the expectation of getting it for free, then I could have gotten it for free, right? If we had the expectation of everything working out for us quickly, we could have it quickly. But sometimes we have these thoughts that, no, I do have to pay for it, or I do have to work for my money. It's not like I'm going to be able to just not work and have money coming in. And yet that's what we see the rich doing. They are able to make money coming in by passive income where they don't have to work. It is possible to not work and still be making money. You don't have to slave away at a job. There are, innumerable possibilities for us to be making money that we asked for. It doesn't have to come through hard work, but oftentimes we think that we have to work for it, and so we can release resistance little by little, and then we can let things in. Now, what I wanted to talk about in this video particularly is the idea of our attention, where our attention goes. So oftentimes we'll, wake up in the morning and we have a lot of things that are sort of vying for our attention. You have things you need to do, things you need to get done with before you go off to work or go off to do some chores, grocery shopping or whatever else may be. You have things you have to complete, and oftentimes those things will take our attention, and sometimes they're very easy. Sometimes we have a really good morning, everything flows and everything's working easily. That's probably because you're in a really positive mood. But as soon as you start to think like this might be hard, say you got taken care of all the chores in the house, but now you have to take your kids to the grocery store with you and think, now they always complain at the grocery store, and now you're throwing resistance on there, and so it might not go as smoothly as everything else has been going smoothly because you thought that it might not go that smoothly. Oftentimes people think that's because it has in the past not gone smoothly, but our thoughts play a big part in whether things will go smoothly in the future. We have our present moment right now that we can focus on, our intentions, our thoughts. We have to take control of our thoughts and think on positive things. And the more you think on positive things, the more you attract positive things because you're attracting whatever you're focused on. So as I gave an example in the description box, if you have to write an email for work, and you're worried about how am I going to write this email, I want it to be professional, and you just don't want to make a mistake because it's maybe going to go to your boss or something, or maybe the whole company or something like that, and you're worried about how you're going to write it. When you go there and you're in a state of fear of, I hope I don't mess this up, you're giving off a vibration or an intention that you might mess it up. Things might not go according to plan, and you might not be able to come up with what you want to say. If you get in a situation where that happens, you could spend 30 minutes trying to write it perfectly. Or you could realize, hey, I'm not in the best mood here. I'm not in the best frame of mind. I should go take a break and do something else that is more enjoyable. And so you could say you went off and did something else that was more enjoyable, came back in 25 minutes, and then wrote the email in 5 minutes at the end because you were in a much better state of mind, frame of mind, that you are more positive, and so things can go more positive because you've been focused on things going well for you for the past 25 minutes, that it's going to continue to go well for you in the next 5 minutes. Because you have to, Abraham Hicks says about 17 seconds or 16 seconds, whatever you're focused on for 16 or 17 seconds starts to gain momentum. If you start focusing on something negative, it can gain momentum and your mind starts. Dr. Joe, I think it's Dispenza, came up with this, I don't know if he came up with the ideas, but he's talked about it, where your brain just starts, it goes to where you're thinking, and then your brain starts to think of more examples. So if you think like, it was really hard to write this email last month, then you're sort of putting your, thoughts on that, and then your brain says, Well, it was hard the last month before that too. And your brain just keeps coming up with more and more examples of how it could be hard. But if you thought to yourself, no, things have been going very easily for me, things will continue to go easily for me, then your brain can come up with more ideas. Yeah, things went easily for you this time, and things, went easily for you at this time. And your brain starts to come up with more examples of what you believe and what you're thinking about, what your intention and focus is on. So if your intention and focus is on the negative, your brain is going to continue to bring up negative things, and you'll continue to have these negative vibrations, which bring more negative events into your life. So when you see or think that you're starting to think something negative, then you want to switch your attention to something positive, and at least for 17 seconds. But it's good to spend a few minutes going off and doing that. And something else I wanted to point out here, there is a quote from Albert Einstein in the description box, actually, on this. Let me see if I can find it. No problem can be solved from the same level of consciousness that created it. So if you think like, hey, I have a problem writing this email, then you're going to continue to have a problem writing that email. But if you go off for 25 minutes and come back, and you're in a consciousness of things are going easily for me, then you can make the email go easily for you. So that's why we want to switch our attention from something that's going negatively to something that's going positively to be able to solve the problems. So that's something that Albert Einstein was saying. And this article here, The Simple but Effective Way to Solve Problems Better, talks about it too. They say the incubation period here. For more than 100 years, scientists have studied the incubation period. Studies have found that the best ideas often come to people when they aren't actively trying to develop a solution, just like Albert Einstein said. You can't be in the problem sort of frame of mind to be able to solve the problem. You need to let it go and think about something positive, something different, where things are going well for you, and then your solutions develop. Just like I said, with you see a problem, your spirit immediately prays for the solution. And then as soon as you let go of your resistance and go see other things that are positive and working for you, then your solution can come. The more you focus on it in the problem state of mind, the more you're resisting the solution. So the solution can't come as long as you're focused on the problem. That's why when you reach a problem in anything, you want to switch your attention to something positive. Even if it's for just like a minute. If you're at work and something's frustrating you, you can switch your attention, just take a break, and then think about positive things like, well, this is going right for me, and this is going right for me, and this is going right for me, and this is going right for me. And as soon as you're past, that 16, 17 seconds, your brain the momentum is going to start to go, and your brain thinks about other things that are going good for you. Other things where you're very smart. I can solve this problem. I can solve that problem. I solved this one, and your brain keeps coming up with more and more ways that you've solved things. Then you go back to the problem, and then you've got a solution. It worked. So that's what I'll leave this link below in the description box. But it's scientifically proven that as soon as you let go, you can come up with answers. And I've already explained why spiritually, biblically, it is, because the Spirit prays for you. As soon as you have a problem, the Spirit is praying for a solution. And when you get out of the mindset of I have a problem and start in the mindset of things are going well for me, I'm doing something else, it's fun, it's relaxing, then you can release resistance while you do that, and then the answer comes to you because you've already prayed for it. And now you're not resisting it, so the answer is right there for you. So here's what the research shows. In a 2010 study published in Psychological Science, researchers examined how an incubation period affects choices. In the first experiment, participants were asked to evaluate profiles of potential roommates given to them by the researchers. One group was asked for their decision immediately following their evaluation. The other group was asked to complete an anagram before weighing in. The participants who were asked to complete an unrelated task and wait several minutes before making a decision made better choices. In a second experiment, participants were asked to evaluate potential job candidates. The results were the same. Those who had a brief incubation period before making the decision made wiser choices. Other studies have yielded similar results. Taking time to not think about a problem can lead to the best decisions. So, why it works. Your unconscious mind is surprisingly astute. That's a fact researchers agree on. And so I would say the unconscious mind is actually the spirit. And so that's like your spirit's already prayed for it. It already knows all because the spirit's connected to God, who is all-knowing. And that's how you can get an answer. that's how we get these geniuses. They relax, they let go of the resistance to the problem, and then they just sort of, some could say it, channel a solution, but it's really just hearing from God. It's just releasing the resistance and letting your prayer be answered, really. So here's 3 main theories explain why an incubation period can lead to new insight. So this is from a scientific background. Eliciting new knowledge. When you stop thinking about something, your brain continues working on the problem in the background, which means it will come across relevant memories in your brain that you may have ignored when you were actively trying to think about the problem. Armed with that new information, your brain may be able to develop a better idea. Selective forgetting. An incubation period weakens the unhelpful solutions that are distracting you. Taking a break gives you fresh perspective and you'll find a new approach. Now, this, I would say, is you releasing resistance, because oftentimes you'll have a problem. And obviously, when you have the problem, you have a resistance to the solution of the problem. That's the whole point. When you have a problem, it wouldn't have been a problem if you hadn't been resistant in some way. And so taking a break helps you to release the resistance to the answer. And sometimes, like where I am, I was worried about having money, right? I wanted to make money, but I didn't know how to make money the best way. And so when I finally released resistance, I was doing that meditation on the money-making affirmations, which I shared on my channel, and I was seeing new opportunities come before me, but I realized that the first one was the product testing company, which has worked out great, fantastic, really excited about all this stuff that I've been getting for free. But the thing is, I wouldn't have taken that jump. I had to take a leap of faith because I would have normally been very fearful of paying before actually getting my money back, which is how they work. So I would have had resistance to paying something, not trusting that the company would pay me back. And so that I had to let go of it. And I let go of it through this meditation and through taking breaks and through releasing resistance to it, knowing that the Spirit was working on the problem. And this was actually led to me by the Spirit because of what I was doing. And so I had that trust and the leap of faith. I was able to take it. But that's how this works, is taking a break lets you release resistance to the problem. And then, like I said, the answer is always there. God's always shining his light and his information to us. But when we have a problem, we're resisting. We have like this umbrella that's blocking the answer. It's right there. The answer is right there, but we're sort of blocking ourselves with a shield from hearing it by our resistance. So I had resistance to making money because of past thoughts and things like that. I know there's lots of Christians out there who think you can't make money and be like a good Christian, but you have to release the resistance to those sorts of things. I mean, there's biblical people, I did a whole video on this, but biblical people were given all sorts of rewards, like Joseph, when he was named, the ruler of all, basically only under Pharaoh. Everybody came and gave him gifts and treated him like the king of the land. And that was because he trusted God and did God's will. But he was rich and Abraham was rich. I mean, God gives riches to everybody in the world. I've talked about this previously, so I don't want to focus on that too much. But basically, our resistance, the unhelpful solutions that we're thinking about, or even just thoughts like, I can't do that solution because of this or that, you can let go of that, and then you can get a fresh perspective. And the third one here is problem restructuring. Stepping away from the problem, literally and figuratively, gives your brain an opportunity to reorganize the problem. When you see the problem differently, a solution will be more obvious. So that's really nice to know, right? I mean, they have it scientifically proven that that's the way it is. If you see a problem, you need to relax, let go. And I do suggest meditation. I don't think they're going to suggest it in this article, but I do. That's a great way to release resistance to things. Just the clearing of the mind. And I have a video on how to do that. Meditation for dummies, basically, because I had to do that and call myself a dummy because I was not able to meditate for so long after people were saying you should do that. But finally I did, and then things started to really click, which is great. So basically, it's best if you have a problem that you can't solve to think about something else. If you're not enjoying what you're doing, if it's feeling frustrating, then you should be changing your attention to something else that's more interesting and fun. And then when you come back to it, this can be easier to do and more like solving a puzzle. I used to solve my math problems because I just thought they were like a game. I would just treat the algebra and matrices and all that stuff like games when I would do them, and everything went easy for me. Some people have really a hard time with those sorts of things, but I just thought of them like games, and all of a sudden it was easy. And the more you have fun with something, the more you can figure out things better. And just don't take things too seriously. And I know that's hard to hear sometimes if you've got like a problem where, you've got to pay this bill, in a couple of days, or else you're going to get shut off. And you can't just think these things as like a game, but really it's best if we are sort of lighthearted. And that's what I found out in September when I was listening to Abraham Hicks for the first few times. And I realized that my whole life I had sort of felt like, well, not my whole life, but ever since I had a downturn in my life, I felt like I had to work, and I was struggling, and I just didn't know how to make money. I didn't know what I could do. I felt like it had to be a chore, and I didn't think that it could be fun. And I realized after listening to Abraham Hicks and how it meshed with the Bible that, I just need to let go. I need to relax. I need to seek first the kingdom of heaven and not worry and not be so stressed out about how all these things are going to come to me. And once I did that, then things have gotten so much better. It's snowballed. Like I said, there's a lot of momentum building up, and it's great. And so that's why I said I've seen it in my life, and that's why I know it works, and that's why I talk about it. And it really just sort of brought to my mind this whole idea about these kids being diagnosed with ADD or ADHD. And so I kind of wanted to talk about that real quick. This is some of the types of ADHD. Now that's just, some of it's inattentive, like you're easily distracted and you can't focus for a long time. And some of it's hyperactivity or impulsivity. And then there's sometimes the whole combined part. But I wanted to talk about what they call inattention. What are they considering inattention? So a doctor may diagnose a child as inattentive if the child is easily distracted. Well, what did I say? If a child is focused on something and maybe they don't find it as interesting or let's say difficult. They don't know how to solve a problem or something. They don't know what to do next with that. And then they get distracted on something else. And then who knows, maybe they can come back to the old thing. But somebody could see that and say that's, a disease. And I'm not saying that everybody who has ADD or ADHD is somehow not really having a disease or something like that. They may have issues, especially if these things are affecting their lives in a way that they can't do things. But sometimes with the whole schooling system, it's just they want you to be just like everybody else. They want you to conform. And it's not really the best place to learn because not everybody learns the best way, the same way as other children do. And so a child could be just bored or like a genius, letting go and thinking about something else, and they could come up with great ideas, except the school is saying, hey, you have ADD, and now they're going to drug them, So I don't think that it is always that way. Some children may just be already born knowing the best way to solve a problem or come up with a solution or invent something that could be like really great for us if they just were given time to focus on multiple projects at once, basically. So seeing is forgetful even in daily activities. Now, I don't think there's really anything good about forgetting things unless you are forgetting something that doesn't matter. If it's something that really matters to you, that's an issue that you need to work on. So I'm not saying that all these aren't, good criteria, but having trouble keeping attention or tasks or activities, or losing focus and being sidetracked, we want to be able to switch. If something is going wrong, we want to be able to switch our minds and think about something that's going right for a few seconds and be able to come back to it. But people aren't really given this understanding that it is okay to take a break, and think about something else and then come back to the problem. And it doesn't have to be, long-term break. Like I said, it could just be like meditate for a minute and just think about things that are going well for you and how it has in the past. And you can get momentum going, and you might be able to solve your issue, and move more smoothly towards your goal, and in a way that you wouldn't have if you hadn't sort of taken a break and stopped. Maybe you had some negative momentum saying like, I can't do this, I don't know how to do this, and you bring forth momentum in a negative way. You want to stop that and go in a different direction, the positive way. So taking some time out to just stop and think about something else is good. And so I also want to talk about how I am interacting with my life at this point in time. So, like I said, we are supposed to be listening to the Spirit and going where it goes. And sometimes I'll be working on something and I'll think like, well, I don't know what to do about this. I don't know how to solve that problem. And so I'll start working on something else. And so I'll work on that something else, and then I'll finish that something else, and then I'll come back, and then I'll figure out what I should be doing about this other issue. And that's why right now, currently, I have a lot of projects going on. I have a lot of things that I spend some time doing, and then I stop, and then I do something else. And I'm sorry if you can hear the dog. There's neighbors are out there for the weekend on the lake, and she doesn't like people being on the lake. But anyway, so if there's one thing, I'll focus on that, and then there's something else, I'll focus on that, and then that ends up being like lots of projects going on at the same time. I am able to make more money than I have been. I used to be doing transcription, which just wasn't that much money, and it took a lot more time, and I've been able to do this making more money with lots of different projects. So once I released the idea that I need like a really stable, big job to make money, all of a sudden I started letting in these different activities. So now like I do user testing where you go to a website and you say, you know, is this website easy to use? Or is it, you know, aesthetically pleasing and all that sort of stuff. So I do that. And then I also have a thing where I can play games on my smartphone for a few minutes and talk aloud while I do it so that they can make better games. Again, that's just one other thing. And so it's a little bit of money from here, and a little bit of money from here, and a little bit of money from here and here and here. And I have different products that I get for free, and they give me a little money to test it. And everything is just sort of adding up. And now, of course, I'm doing marketing stuff too, making social media images with my Photoshop and all that. And so I have a little bit going on all over the place. Plus I have this, you know, Sabbath live chat and my articles on my website and everything. But I have a little bit going on like everywhere. And I'm able to make more money that way because I finally released resistance to saying that my money does not have to come from one specific job that I go to 9 to 5. It can come from multiple different directions. And so I've seen that. As soon as I started getting money from multiple different directions, I said, I'm making money from lots of different places. And that snowballed, it brought momentum, and it attracted more places that I can make more money from. And so we want to focus on that too, the positives. And so I'm just saying that sometimes it's okay to work on a project and put it on the back burner and go do something else and then come back. Sometimes you're not even losing out on any time and you get more stuff done. I have definitely seen that I've been more productive doing this because you're listening to the Spirit. When you have these negative emotions on whatever you're focused on, the fear and worry that, you know, you're not going to be able to do this, it's a sign that you are vibrationally dissonant between your inner self or Holy Spirit, however you want to view that. God knows all. And if you're worried about something working out or not, you are a vibrational difference between you and God, your thoughts on the subject. And so if you're afraid, that means God's not. And you don't want to be stuck in the problem solution. You've already, you know, the problem situation, you've already sent forth the prayer. You want to line up with Him. So if you go off and focus on something more positive, where you're not focused on fear or anything, then you line up with Him and then you come back to this subject again, and you're much more prepared to see a solution because He knows all. And you can trust that He is answering the prayers as soon as you ask for them. We're just resistant so often to having our prayers answered that we don't let them in. And that's what the whole meditation is about and taking a break is about. We want to release the resistance and say, like, He's taking care of that. I don't have to worry about it. And that's what Jesus was saying. Don't worry about where's your food going to come from. Don't worry about where your clothes are going to come from. Don't worry about where your house is going to come from. Don't worry about that. Just focus on listening to the kingdom inside of you, the Spirit guiding you on where to go. And you'll figure out something else that you'll listen to your emotions. You'll figure out something else that feels right, that you should be working on, that you feel like this is what God wants you to do and everything. And it'll be much easier for you. And then you can go back to the past project and you'll be able to do it a lot easier, smoother, because you would have let in the answer to the prayer. Shabbat Shalom, everybody in the chat room. And so I think I sort of finished what I was going to say about this subject. So if you guys have any questions or comments or thoughts or anything, you can bring them up in the chat. Otherwise, I would probably just end the show. But if you guys have questions or comments, anything you want to talk about, feel free to do so in the chat. Hello, Jessica. Hello, everybody. So like I said, any questions, thoughts, whatever, you can talk in the chat room. And I'll discuss them. Anything, law of attraction or the John 3 passage. John 3 was probably not written in Greek originally. I've read that just because of the way that they talk about it. Bad dreams. Okay. Yeah. When you go to sleep, my perspective on this, and you can see my article on my website. Actually, let's see here. Avatars. And the Lake of Fire article might discuss it a little bit further too. Let's see here. But I sort of have this perspective that our spirits are currently in heaven because it says we're currently seated in heavenly places, and that we're just playing these bodies like avatars in a game. So we are currently in heaven, the kingdom of heaven's inside of us, the spirit's inside of us, but we're using these bodies, these physical bodies, as characters in a game, you know, sort of playing around on earth right now. And when our physical bodies, sometimes I talked about the dissonance, the vibrational dissonance between our inner being or higher self or spirit or whatever you want to call it, and our physical bodies, there's this dissonance when we feel bad, when we're angry with somebody, when we're not forgiving somebody, when we're fearful. So if we are worried about something, or if we're angry and not forgiving and all that stuff, it can result, or if we're not following our spirit on something we're supposed to be doing, it can result in a bad dream, I think, because when we go to sleep, and this is just my perspective on this, when our bodies go to sleep, it's kind of like the movie Avatar. Our spirit goes back to the original spirit body that's currently in heaven, and I think it passes through the Lake of Fire. So then you can see my Lake of Fire article. But the Lake of Fire is for purification, and then when we are, you know, from our heavenly bodies, our inner beings or whatever, pass through the Lake of Fire and then go back to our physical bodies, our brain has to somehow understand what the spirit saw from heaven and what our intentions are for what we're going to be doing in the future days and how everything has been going on and all that. And the symbols are because our brain is trying to, how should I say this? Kind of like a TV. There's a signal that's coming to the TV and it's trying to put a picture to the signal. Our brain is trying to put a picture and an understanding towards the vibrational signal that we're getting when we sleep. And if there's a negative emotion, that means that there's something we're supposed to be working on. And it may be that we're fearful about something else. In case of fear, we need to relax and trust God. And I have lots of stuff on fear on my channel and articles, things like that. Just we want to become one with God, and being one with God is not being fearful. It's going to be bold as a lion, and we're not going to be worried about anything anymore. And that really is about faith and trust that God is going to protect us and take care of us if we let go. That's where the whole let go, let God saying comes in. We have to let go and let Him take care of everything. And once we let go and have faith, then He will take care of everything. If we're angry at somebody else, then we have this cognitive dissonance or vibrational dissonance between our higher selves and our lower selves, our physical selves. And because our higher self is not going to be angry at anybody. Our higher self or spirit or whatever is all loving, all forgiving, all merciful. And so we want to line up with that. But that's where we get that dissonance. The negative feelings is because we're not lining up with who we truly are, and who we truly are loves everybody and forgives everybody and is not worried about anybody sinning, etc. We're not going to be frustrated or whatever about that. So our dreams are often about our fears and our thoughts and things like that. I have a video and article on deliverance on my website, which may help. I think I even mentioned in that article that when you go through a deliverance, when I went through my deliverance, I still had some bad dreams that I called nightmares because it was like demons coming, and I had I'm trying to think of the word sleep paralysis in my dreams. But once I went through the deliverance and really what you would call born again, I guess, sort of experience, and just like I was not going to sin and I was determined to not sin, then things got a lot better, and I haven't had those negative dreams like that. I haven't had the sleep paralysis in my dreams for a long time, but I used to have that. So that's the deliverance article, and then there's also a video on there about what I went through my deliverance and how, well, there's the one about getting to the same frequency as God, which we want to do, which again forgives all and is not fearful of anything. And there's my deliverance video. So things got a lot better for me after doing that, with my dreams and everything too. But I do think our dreams are very much connected to the spiritual realm, and I don't think that they're just, nothing. I think that there's definitely, basically we're like a TV in our heads. We're kind of interpreting the vibration that we physically are currently. And if it's negative, then there's something that we need to get more right with God on. And if it's positive, then that means you're moving forth in a good direction. I've been really trying to focus on becoming more abundant with wealth, but also with, like, I'm having more products because I was doing the product. Well, that's kind of how I used it. But I was focused on the abundance, and recently I had a dream where I was in a house, which was actually like a mansion to me. It had like 3 floors and stuff, and it was like I was living there, which that would be a good one. But also I dreamt in the same dream that somebody came and the door was ajar and they were gonna steal stuff. But I was also led by the spirit in the dream to hear that they were going to do that they were going to set off the alarm, but not actually let it call the cops. But I was able to call the cops with my cell phone, so, because I heard this information. So I woke up a little scared. But isn't that the way we always are? I know it's weird, but if you're going to go forth into the future of having more money, there's going to be more and more fears with it. But we need to let go of the fear, because there's no need to worry, because everything is going to be handed to us so long as we focus on the kingdom of God inside. But I think it was just sort of a mixed bag with me on that dream. So Katrina said she still has sleep paralysis once in a while. It takes a while. Once I went through my deliverance, I had dreams that were negative, and I think it's just there's a lot of momentum. I had been going through a huge period of negative thoughts, and I was getting rid of them, but it was taking a while. And just like when I was learning to lucid dream as a child, it took a while. So when I went to lucid dream as a child, teenager, I did a dream journal. I wrote down my dreams, and I also was looking at the clock and then look away and then look at the clock again. The reason for that is the numbers will change in a dream. And so what happened is I would look at the clock and then look away and look at the clock, and this real time, real life, right? And then it took a while, and I don't even remember how long it was. It could have been weeks, it could have been months, but it took a while. But after I did that, a lot, very commonly, then in my dream, I started to dream that. And once I started to dream that in my dream, then I became lucid, because I was like, wait, that clock's not right. I'm asleep. So that happens with dreams. Is it takes a while for our regular lives to sort of build up momentum to the fact that it's going into the dreams. So the more you release the resistance, the more you let go of your fears, the more you trust God, the more you forgive and love others, then that stuff will start creeping in. The more you try not to sin. If you feel like you're sinning, then don't do it, because you're feeling guilty because you don't want to do it, because that's not who you really are inside. And once you become true to yourself, then if you do that enough, then it'll sort of come into the dreams. And that's what I saw over the past, 3 or 4 years of my life since, 2015 was when I had my big dream. So what's 2019? Almost 4 years now. So 3.5 probably since then. So yeah, any other questions or comments or thoughts or anything you guys want to discuss? Everything really can be healed over time. Just sometimes it takes some time. I know. But like I said, I feel a lot better emotionally now than I did before. And it all started with that dream in May of 2015 and then going to the deliverance. Not going to, but having one. I did it myself. It wasn't like I went to somebody to do it. And I don't think you need to go to somebody to get a deliverance at all. All right, so nobody's chatting, and so I'm just going to probably end this live stream. I hope you guys really enjoyed the live stream, and I hope you all are going to have a really great week. And I thank you all for coming and chatting in this live stream and discussing with me. And so Shabbat Shalom, everybody, and bless you.